Hello, my friends, and welcome to Miss Wiggins Reading Corner. Let's go ahead and say hello to Miss Mingo the Flamingo. Hello, Miss Mingo. Very nice to have you here. My friends, as you can see, all of the shapes we are learning, and as you can see, I put crescent up there. I forgot that the last 2 days. Oops, but I remembered it today. We are learning about shapes. There are so many shapes all over the world. Everywhere we look, there's a shape. Everything that we own is actually a shape. So it's very important to know the names of the shapes, because when you are trying to describe something, you have to describe it accurately, or else if you're trying to get help or if you're trying to get something, the other person is not going to be able to help you or not know what you're talking about if you don't describe it or tell about it accurate or correctly. So today we're going to read a book called All Shapes Matter. Now this is a long story. I don't usually try to read you such long stories, or if they are, they're pretty animated and stuff. This isn't really animated, but it does have a lot of shapes in them, and it's about going to school, and so I want to read it to you. So hang in there and listen on to this story, all right? Meet the characters. Circle, triangle, rectangle, square, and octagon. An octagon is the shape of a stop sign. That's him down here. Octagon. So you have circle, triangle, rectangle, square, and octagon. Octa meaning 8. It has 8 sides, and it's the stop sign. When mom and dad is driving, it's what you see is the stop sign. It's the same that is right here. Once upon a time, in Turning Corners Elementary School, it was the first day of school for triangles, rectangles, squares, octagons, and circles. Oh, we had our first day of school too, huh? Triangles, rectangles, squares, octagons, and circles had a busy first morning meeting their teachers, learning a lot, and then eating lunch. After lunch, they finally heard an announcement on the school radio that they were all eagerly waiting for. Recess! All of the shapes headed straight to the playground. The squares were the first ones out. They headed straight for the swings. Do you like to swing on the swings? I know I do, especially when I was a kid. I loved it. The triangles, rectangles, and octagons then ran over to other parts of the playground. The triangles headed to the slides, the rectangles headed to the monkey bars, and the octagons headed to the tunnel slide. After playing on their own for some time, the shapes decided it was time to play with the other shapes and get to know each other better. Well, that's very kind of them, huh? The triangle introduced itself. Look at me, said the triangle. I have 3 sides and 3 corners. I can make myself look like an arrow, or make myself look like a slide. Whoa, that's pretty cool, huh? The rectangle introduced itself next. Look at me, said the rectangle. I have 4 sides and 4 corners, but 2 sides are long and 2 sides are short. I can make myself look like a flag, or I can make myself look like a tray. We use a tray to do artwork, don't we? So look at that. I'm only showing you half of the book because I'm only reading it half at a time. It's so much. And I want you to be able to see each individual shape. The square continued with the introduction. Look at me, said the square. Like the rectangle, I too have 4 sides and 4 corners. In fact, I am a special type of rectangle because my sides are all the same. I can get together with other squares and make a Rubik's Cube, or make myself look like a diamond that sparkles. So if you take a square and you turn it sideways, you make a rhombus. Look at that. The octagon introduced itself last. Look at me, said the octagon. I have 8 sides and 8 corners. I can make myself look like a trampoline or like a stop sign. That's pretty cool, huh? At about the time the octagons were done introducing themselves, along came 2 circles who excitedly asked, "Can we tell you something about us too?" The triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons had never met a circle before and were not sure how to respond. They said, "But you have no sides and you have no corners. You look the same no matter how you turn yourselves, and you can't make yourself into another object." The triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons told the circles, "We cannot play with you. You are not much fun." Is that kind? I don't think that's very kind, is it? The circles became very sad because of what the other shapes had said. They decided to go away to a corner of the playground. Triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons were so glad they had many sides and corners. Once the circles left, they said to each other, "Since we have so many sides and corners, let's build something fun together. Let's build a school bus." Oh, look at the school bus though. Is it missing something? Triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons came up with a plan to build the school bus. "I will be the windshield," said Triangle. "I will be the windows," said Square. "I will be the doors and the frame," said Rectangle. "And I will be the stop sign," said Octagon. The triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagon worked hard to build the school bus. Can you think what the bus is missing? I know I think of something. The hard work of the triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons paid off. As they finished building the school bus, they all said, "Let's take our school bus for a ride." However, there seemed to be a problem, as the school bus would not move. Try as they might, the triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons couldn't figure out what was going wrong. What is it? What do they need? Meanwhile, the circles were watching what was going on as the triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons struggled with their school bus. The circles had an idea. The circles walked over to the school bus and said, "We can help." Can the circles help them? What can they make them? Let's see if you're right. "We may not have any sides or corners, but what makes us unique? Our round shape not only allows us to roll around easily, but can also help you to move along. Let us show you what we mean by getting under the fantastic school bus you guys have built." What are they going to turn themselves into? That's right, wheels. The circles went under the school bus, and just like how the squares became the windows, the rectangles became the doors, the octagon became the stop sign, the circles became the wheels. The circles started turning. The other shapes became overjoyed as their school bus started to move now. Woohoo! The shapes had a lot of fun going around the playground in the school bus. All the shapes were thrilled, happy, and content at what they had built together during recess. Back at recess, the triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagon each had something to say to the circles. "I'm sorry." It wasn't very nice for them to not allow them to play, huh? But in the end, if it wasn't for the circles, they wouldn't have been able to move their bus. The triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons learned something very important that day. It doesn't matter if you have 1, 2, or 3, or no sides. It doesn't matter if you have 1, 2, 3, or no corners. It doesn't matter if you make 1, 2, or 3, or no objects. Circles, we learned our lesson and we're very sorry for the way we made you feel. The circles accepted the apologies and forgave the triangles, rectangles, squares, and octagons. Thank you. We may not all look the same, but we sure can build a lot of fun things if we work together. We need to respect each other despite our differences. And just like when we learned all about us and about kindness, the same here, right? The shape said, it doesn't matter what shape we all come in. The only thing that matters is being nice and accepting each other for who we are. We all need different shapes with sides or without sides, with corners and without corners. The shapes were happy to learn such a valuable lesson that they held hands and shouted, all shapes matter. What do you think about that? Pretty cool book, huh? Not only did we learn about the shapes and what they all do, triangles and rectangles and squares and circles and octagons, but we also learned that it's really good to be kind and to include people. So there's a lot of lessons just in one story, plus all the colors, plus all the words. Oh my goodness, we're just learning so much. All right, my friends, go outside and check out all the shapes that you could see. We'll see you later. Bye.